What if a virus could make you hotter, but shorter lived? In fruit flies, one does. The Sigma virus turns infected males into unexpected heartthrobs, then slashes their lifespan. Why would a parasite boost your dating stats only to pull the rug later? Because every extra mating is a win for the virus. We'll unpack that logic, then compare it with koalas, dolphins, and more in a top 10 tour where pathogens tweak the rules of attraction. Why would a tree-dwelling herbivore need a vaccine flavored like its favorite leaves? Because the problem isn't getting a needle in. It's getting help in without breaking what keeps it alive. A large share of koalas carry chlamydia, a bacterial infection that inflames eyes and the urogenital tract and can end in infertility. That means fewer joeys, more pain, and individuals that struggle to feed or breed. Now layer that on top of habitat loss, droughts, and fire. Stress rises, immune systems falter, and a disease that already hurts becomes a lever that can tip small populations toward collapse. The key insight is that the infection doesn't act alone. It interacts with every other pressure koalas face and compounds it through reduced fertility and chronic discomfort. Let's unpack the biology. Two main culprits circulate in koalas. Chlamydia picorum is the big driver, while C. pneumoniae shows up too. Transmission rides on close contact, mating, grooming, shared trees, and mothers can pass it on to joeys during birth or pouch contact. That vertical path helps explain why infection sticks around even when adults suffer. Treatment isn't simple. Standard antibiotics can kill the pathogen, but they also hit the gut microbes that digest eucalyptus, which is a tough, toxin-laced diet. Think of antibiotics like a carpet cleaner that blasts stains, but also scuffs the fibers. It removes grime, but repeated blasts can thin the weave. In a koala, that weave is a specialist microbiome. Damage it and you risk malnutrition, dehydration, and a slower recovery. High prevalence turns into evolutionary pressure. Individuals with fewer symptoms or better immune responses leave more offspring. Mating networks shift as sick animals court less, travel differently, or get avoided. Over time, even small immune advantages can spread, changing which genes stick and which fade. So, is there a way to protect a picky eater without harming what makes it thrive? Researchers are testing a koala-specific chlamydia vaccine. The delivery pairs the dose with eucalyptus flavor cues, so wary animals accept it. That's adaptive veterinary medicine, designing the form, the taste, and the logistics around a species' biology and behavior, and making it work in the field as well as in care. If disease can force us to invent leaf-flavored medicine, what happens when a pathogen rewires attraction itself? What if being infected made you more dateable today, but cost you tomorrow? Let's break it down. In fruit flies, a virus called Sigma twists the dating game. Males that carry it get more attention from females. More pairings mean more chances for the virus to pass on. It leverages attraction like a bridge, moving from body to body without lifting a finger. There's a catch. Those same infected males don't live as long. The virus trims lifespan, which lowers the host's overall fitness. So you get a burst of short-term success followed by an earlier exit. That trade-off tells us what the virus values most: fast transmission over host health. How does a pathogen pull this off? Subtle shifts in behavior and signals. Courtship can look more intense. Males can persist longer. Chemical cues, pheromones, can skew in ways that nudge female choice. None of this needs to be dramatic. A small boost in courtship vigor or a slight tweak in scent can tilt a decision in seconds. Evidence backs the pattern. Infected males court and mate at higher rates, and females choose them more often. But survival data show the cost on the other side. Fewer days alive means fewer future chances to mate if the virus wasn't there. That's the knife edge. Immediate wins for the virus, delayed losses for the host. Think of it like this. A flashy discount crowds your cart today, but empties your budget tomorrow. The attention is real. The bill is also real. Now let's zoom out for a moment. Selection pressure doesn't just sculpt wings and jaws, it sculpts signals. Hosts evolve resistance to the manipulation, duller viral effects, immune filters, choosier females. Pathogens counter by refining their push. Stronger tweaks to behavior, cleaner timing, stealthier chemistry. It's an arms race that plays out in courtship dances and split-second mate choices. Which brings us to the core question. If a virus can shift the dating market in a small, fast-living insect, what happens in animals with longer lives and tighter social rules? Do we see guarded courtship, new taboos, or risk-avoidant networks that bottleneck disease? Here's the key insight. Pathogens can hijack sexual selection to boost transmission. Attraction isn't only romance, it's also ecology and strategy. And when disease sets the terms, behavior bends. Now let's track how disease pressure shapes behavior, society, and survival in the rest of the animal kingdom. What do rabbits with engineered viruses, devils with contagious tumors, and ants turned into climbers at noon have in common? They show how infection edits behavior. We're doing 10 quick stories. Each one ends with a clear payoff about how disease nudges mating, movement, or social rules. Start with rabbits. Myxomatosis was released to throttle booming populations. It caused grotesque facial swelling and lethal illness, and numbers crashed. Then selection kicked in. Surviving rabbits carried resistance that spread, and the virus itself shifted in virulence. A human-made pressure rewired evolution in real time. Tasmanian devils face a different threat. Devil facial tumor disease spreads living cancer cells through bites during fights and feeding. It sidesteps immune defenses, spreads fast, and populations plunge. Researchers now track hints of resistance and test vaccine ideas, showing how behavior, biting, became the pathogen's highway. Baboons bring a zoonotic caution. Herpes viruses can be mild in them, but dangerous for us. Bites and scratches carry risks, so people alter distance, feeding rules and handling protocols. The disease doesn't change baboon behavior much, but it changes ours. Chimpanzees show a countermove: self-medication. They seek bitter plants with therapeutic effects and pass these habits through groups, like health culture. The behavior flexes with need, ingesting or even topical use, so illness pressure prompts knowledge sharing as a survival tool. Bats with white nose syndrome lose the winter economy. The fungus irritates skin and wings, waking them from torpor and burning fat reserves. Many starve before spring. Colonies shift roosting dynamics, and managers change cave access. Seasonal behavior gets remapped by a microbe. Ants meet macabre precision. Ophiocordyceps steers an infected worker to climb, bite a leaf, and freeze at a set height, timed near midday when conditions favor spore release. Think of it like choreographing a puppet show with exact cues. The fungus sets the stage, the ant provides the pose. Guppies adjust mating strategies under parasite pressure. In high-risk waters, males tone down bright displays and switch to longer, steadier courtship. Fewer flashy bursts, more investment per interaction. The strategy lowers exposure and still wins mates in a risky scene. Across these cases, pathogens write rules for who courts, who moves, and who keeps their distance. The key insight is simple. Disease acts like an unseen editor, cutting and adding lines to the script of survival, one behavior at a time. Now let's push into how we design answers that respect those rules instead of fighting them blindly. If disease can rewrite behavior, can we write back? Let's break it down with the same PAS arc we opened earlier. The problem is clear. Koalas face a high burden of chlamydia. Agitation follows fast. Fertility drops, symptoms are painful, and habitat stress piles on. The solution has to be creative and specific, not generic. We need tools that treat the infection without stripping away what lets koalas live on eucalyptus and cope with drought and displacement. The design principle is simple to say and hard to execute. Meet biology where it lives. Delivery must match diet, social structure, and immune quirks. If an animal won't accept a treatment, or if the treatment wrecks its microbiome, we lose ground. So we start with diet-compatible formats, calm handling, and dosing schedules that fit field realities. Here's the case in detail. Teams developing a koala chlamydia vaccine align flavor and form factor with eucalyptus. That increases acceptance. They also plan field-friendly dosing that works for both wild animals and those in care. The point isn't only the antigen, it's the package, taste, texture, and timing that make voluntary uptake likely under real conditions. Now, zoom out to the broader toolkit. Wildlife vaccines can be delivered in ways animals readily consume, such as baits tailored to target species. Selective treatments aim to spare helpful microbes while hitting pathogens, so digestive specialists keep their fuel. Behavior-aware strategies, like spacing, altered feeding practices, or temporary barriers, reduce risky contacts without shutting down normal life. Think of it like customizing a key for a very specific lock. A near match can feel close, but it won't turn. The right cut opens the door with minimal force. We also need guardrails. Interventions can ripple through evolution and ecosystems. That means we monitor for resistance, track unintended selection, and watch for shifts in behavior that change who mates, who ranges, and who survives. Ethics and practicality meet here. Logistics, cost, and community cooperation decide whether a lab idea works in forests and along roadsides. Here's the forward view. Disease management becomes conservation when it protects reproduction, stabilizes numbers, and preserves cultural behaviors like learned remedies. The lesson is straightforward. Effective solutions are narrow, clever, and grounded in natural history. We started with a burning problem. Now the tools aim to cool it without dousing the forest. So the system keeps breathing and the animals keep choosing. Pathogens don't just make animals sick. They steer who courts, who bites, who survives. The key insight is simple. Disease acts like a quiet architect, shaping behavior and carving evolutionary paths through small, relentless pressures. Think of it like this. A tiny nudge in mating signals today can redirect a lineage tomorrow. Subtle shifts add up. Signals change, networks reorganize, and populations adapt or fail. If this changed how you see behavior in the wild, like the video, subscribe, and tell us which species health strategy you want us to unpack next. Stay curious, and we'll keep translating the hidden rules of life.